Hey there, everybody. Robert Taylor with Wonderscape Creations, continuing on with Narrative Pro video for the setting up melee combat. Now, we're going to start off with the one thing that must be started off with, and that is the weapon mesh itself. You're going to realize as you start downloading all of your weapons and you pick out which ones you want, that you're going to run into quite a few issues. And I'm going to go over how to fix those issues before we jump into actually making the abilities and the Narrative Pro items and such, because it is foundationally the most important thing. Otherwise, you're going to have the sword, you're going to be holding the sword by the tip of the blade instead of the handle in some cases. And I can show you that right here. I believe it was one of these. Might not have been. There we go. See, for some reason, this artist decided to put the pivot point right there on the blade. So congratulations, you're now holding the sword by the blade. So we're going to be going through that with one of these guys. These aren't as bad, but as you can see, it's way up here, and we don't want it held right there. And we want it universally, roughly in the place where we want the player holding the weapon. I'm going to have to do it with this one, but if you get to these ones are in a spot where it's realistic. So we're not going to have to worry about that too much. Another thing that you sometimes run into is all of these were flagged as two-handed swords in the assets that I purchased them in. You'll see here that this one is scaled at 1, but both of these and some of the other ones I've had to scale up. As you can see, it's marked as Great Sword 01, but it was barely bigger than the normal swords. Um, just had a much longer handle. So I went ahead and scaled them up. So we need to make sure that these scales stay the same too. So let's go ahead and get that taken care of now in this episode. So the first thing you're going to want to do is once you have your actor out in the world, we want to come up to the... Why is it not showing? Let's do this. There we go. Actor right here, show actions for the actor. And we want to select convert SK Great Sword 01 to static mesh. So before we do that, I want to be in its location. So let's do this. There we go. Here's our great swords, our basic great swords. They're basic because I haven't named them yet. Here again, actor, convert SK Great Sword, and now we need to choose where we want it, and this is why I wanted that open. So I can find where they're at. Skeletal meshes, weapons, great swords, basic. So for me, this is where it's going to be. And we want a mesh version of it anyways for if you're deciding to place that out in the world, because a static mesh is much cheaper than a skeletal mesh. And Narrative Pro is focused on optimization over convenience, which is how you should want it. So let's go ahead and I'm going to name this SM underscore great sword underscore 01. I'm going to hit save. So now we have it here in the world. I'm going to bring it out. And you'll see that if I give it the same location as this, it's not the same size. That is a-okay. We're going to fix that right now. Because Epic Games has created some really nifty tools that we can use. So we're going to go into the modeling mode. It should be on by default by now. It's no longer in beta as far as I know. I just know that with every project I create, this plugin is automatically on. So we're going to go to plugin, and we go to transform, and we're going to go to... Let's see, how do we want to do this one? bake transform. Wait, first we want to increase this by 1.25, so it's the same size. And bake the transform, bake full scale. I believe this is what we need to do. Yep, now you can see it's scaled at 111, and it's the same size. Now the next thing we need to do is edit the pivot point, because we don't want, this isn't where the handle is. So select edit pivot point and just bring it down. If you're wanting in a specific spot, obviously you can turn off the clamping that's here for it moving every 10. I think that right there is a good spot. Then if you hit accept, that's the new pivot point. And to show you, let's come back in here. Pulled in a new one. Exact same size. Let's make this easy here. Location, paste. Actually, let's make the same location as that. That's right, because I changed the pivot point. Copy. Paste. There we go. As you can see, the size is now the same. Pivot point has not has been permanently changed. Permanently. Obviously, if you want to change it again in the future, you can. But this way, now, whenever we make a greatsword, the way that we're going to set things up, every single greatsword is automatically going to be placed exactly how it needs to be placed. That's extremely, extremely important, and it needs to be respected. If you want things to be easy. So essentially, you're doing a lot of work now to save yourself a lot of work later. And trust me, having to do offsets for every single weapon is a nightmare. So setting the pivot points in roughly the same locations is far easier. So now that we've gotten this static mesh, we now need to make a skeletal mesh. So, and that's because we're going to be replacing Greatsword 01, all three of these, with its own skeleton. Let's go ahead and we're going to right click here, convert to skeletal mesh. Now you have a couple of options. You can use existing skeletal mesh, which we have one right here if we wanted to use it. You can also create a new one. Because we have one and I don't mind using it, I'm going to go ahead and just use it. So we want sk underscore greatsword 01. Oh, no. I want a new skeletal mesh. I don't want to use that one right there. So create new. Create new. Use existing skeleton is what we want. There we go. sk underscore greatsword 01 underscore skeleton. Binding bone name. Grip A. Just for the heck of it right now. We're going to convert. Now you'll see we have our own skeletal mesh. Bring this over here. Here we are. And it looks just like the original. Quite nice. Now then, with that said, the next thing we want to make sure that we do is set up a physical material. As you can see, there isn't one here. The original one has one. We don't. And we may want to use this one. We may not. Let's open it up. And as you can see right now, it's not the right size, which is fine. We scaled it up by 25%. So that's why we would need to reset this. I intend on deleting it. Don't want to have anything to do with it. So we're going to create our own. So the first thing we're going to do here, the very first thing we're going to do is go ahead and right click on here on our new SKM underscore greatsword underscore 01, and should be create physics asset, create and assign. So we're going to create it. For now, we will leave this as is. We'll hit create. And now it has one. Again, running into the same problem. But that's fine. Got that working out for us. We want to unconfuse ourselves, so let's close these up. We'll get into that later. I want to open this up. Save everything. And then I will open this. Now then, my theory as to why this is happening, if we come here to VA, there's really not much here. So it happens. I'm going to do something a little bit on the unique side so that you guys know how to do it. And the reason we're going to do this is because if we come here to my axis here, this guy right here, what I had to do here, well, I didn't have to, I chose to because it looked better, is as you can see here, I've got two of them. Because the upper parts of my blade weren't within it unless I had this ridiculously wide. So I wanted it to be a little more uniform. As you can see right now, it's not uniform there. And this is just part of the optimization process. You can choose to keep it this way, which I'm on the fence about. But another option you have with physical materials is we can select this one. Select that one right there. Capsule. We can choose box. Then we hit generate. Look at that. It's now a box. And now you just have to deal with the fact that it's not perfectly curved. So you have to choose. Honestly, I think this is a better option. Just one thing you need to understand. Boxes aren't as optimized. Wait, let me confirm. I need to confirm something. Yeah, I was correct. Box collisions are generally cheaper than capsules. But if I'm not mistaken, sphere might be cheaper than box. Either way, this right here would technically be more optimized, and we wouldn't run into the consort Radon issue that everyone was showing off how they were dodging it, but still getting hit by it because it was using a massive capsule collision on the massive sword. So in instances like that, this may be what you want. Obviously, once you select it again, you can then change the size and the rotation however you want. You have full control over all of that. So that's what you need to make sure you understand. Now, you're going to run into issues if it's not set up, which most won't be. If I come in here to the axe and I go to the skeleton, right here, I have head. I created this bone, but it wasn't showing up. It wasn't generating any collision. So we're going to fix that. I'm going to show you how to do that in the Greatsword. It's not needed in the Greatsword, but I'm going to show you in the Greatsword. So let's go ahead and jump back in here. Now we're here in our Greatsword, and we want to go to Skeleton, Edit Skeleton, Add, and we're going to select the tip, just like that. And we're going to name it Tip. Now we want Oh, no, we don't want that one zeroed out. We'll make that one back to where it is. 0, 0. There we go. That way it's in the very center of the tip. And it's there. Now, like I said, once we are done and we hit accept, that bone is there, but there's no information on it. And you can tell because it's grayed out. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And we need to make sure that that's not grayed out. So let's go ahead and go to skin, edit weights, and select the tip. We want to be in brush mode. And I haven't played with this much, so I've kept everything else exactly the same. And we're going to come up here. We're going to paint this. We're just going to keep on painting it. Because we want this information here. There we go. Now we're going to hit accept. We need to save. Now, for some reason, it is looking like there's no data there. But if we come here to the skeleton, to this mesh here, and we then check mark this, create body for all bones, generate all bodies. Look at that. So it's created a second one for the tip. Not necessary for the tip at all, but I wanted to show it. And as you can see, it's ridiculous. It's not perfect. And that's simply because I wanted to show it. I wanted to show you that you could do it. That way, if you wanted this sword right here to have the hilt be a smaller physics body, you could. I don't care about it. You honestly shouldn't care about it. Not for a sword anyways. So what I'm going to do now is delete that. Grip B has one. We don't need it to have one. Delete that. We're going to keep it here. We're going to make a couple of changes. Make this a little easier. Again, it's your decision whether you go with a box or a sphere. Or a collision, rather. Wow, box or a capsule. But if you do it this way, as you can see, it gives the player a little more feel for being in the correct spot. I'm going to go ahead and shorten this just like that. For good reason. So I'm going to move it up. Just like that. For some weapons, you will want it on the handle, like I had it for the axe, because you're just going to be so close to the enemy that you don't really have much of a choice. You don't want to miss them simply because the handle goes through their body. So honestly, you can do this how you want. Just add a little bit of safety. I'm going to make this a little bigger. There we go. And we are good. So if we hit save, we now have our physics body set up. As you can see, it's give and take. Either you have to deal with corners or you have to deal with capsules that are super wide. I don't think they have an option for, no, they don't have an option for custom shapes. And I'm going to help you understand why we're doing it this way, why Narrative Pro chose to do it this way. And I hate this term. It is industry standard. It's the cheapest option. It's the most optimized option using the physics material because it's there in the world already. So you're not creating more information or data. You may have used templates where they use sockets to create, to generate their own capsules. Well, congratulations, you now have a second collision that's happening for the exact same weapon. Just throwing that out there. And sometimes it doesn't work. Your animation is moving so quickly that the trace doesn't register. It will with this because it is highly optimized, highly focused on and ready to be used. So those faster animations will hit. So that's where that comes from, and that's why things are done this way. And we're just going to keep it as is, obviously. I'm not going to go into the C++ and change it. So that's everything you need to know about these meshes and everything, and how to properly set up your weapon and prepare it for use for your whole team. That way, you're not spending a whole bunch of time um, confirming and changing all of the what's the word I'm looking for? Changing all of the socket offsets and the rotations and all that. Because one thing I did not point out, but I did notice here, you can see now here in the image. Let me make it bigger, make it even clearer to see here. Thumbnail size, huge. If we look at them, we're right now looking at this one straight on, but this one's to the side. So when we reset the transforms and everything, it put all of them. It's going to put all of them on the exact same transform rotation as well. So that means congratulations. You don't have to worry about the transforms either. I mean the rotations either. So it's important to do it with all of your weapons. Make sure that they are all facing the exact same way. Thank you guys so much for watching. And in the next episode, we will jump into creating our item, and if we have time, the visuals for it as well.